Welcome back to the Boy Time channel. Today, list week, top 10 albums 2024. It's our favorite
Holy
time of
cow.
year once again. We're fluctuating numbers as always. In 2021, we did top 25. That was insane. Why did we do that? Then we did top
What?
10 in 22, did top 5 last year, and now we're going back to top 10 because there's been a plethora of things. A lot of
Yes,
things. I listened to 96 albums this year, but I'm only going to talk about 10. So listen to our
that's too
podcast if
many
you want to hear
albums.
about all of them, I guess. That's a plug right away. But yeah, we have Bab Jab here. Hasn't been here in a long time, so his opinions will be greatly valued today.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we'll be going through our top 10s, and then we'll be doing some honorable mentions right before our number one spot. And then next week, we got top 5 albums we reacted to this year. So that'll be albums that did not come out this year, but we reacted to on the channel. Very
Yes.
important. Yeah, and that'll be the year. And then we'll figure out where we're going after that. So next year should be fun. We're going to try some more discography videos. We got Bon Iver coming up for that one. Got a Mount Erie and Microphones deep dive coming out in a couple months. Finishing Fleet Foxes too. So stay tuned.
Absolutely.
But I think we can get started. I think we're going to go Jerry, me, Bab Jab. Make a nice little upside down triangle maneuver.
Oh, starting with me.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, I just want to start right off the bat. I listened to around 20 albums, so a little less than the 96 that you have. But I
Doesn't matter.
want to really iterate here on my top 10. I don't care if it's a 10 or a 1. These are all really great albums. So just because I'm giving an album in the 10 spot, that means that I really, really like it still. So don't come at me because I put your favorite album at 10, because I know that you, Babby, are going to do it because I know it's going to be your number one. Actually, I don't think so.
Everything is my
But
number one. You can offend me so
well,
many
yes.
times.
I'm counting on it. My number 10 is we just did this one not too long ago on the channel. I think we were both pretty hot on it at the time. And it's only grown on me. I think it grew on you way more than it did me. Because you were talking about that for weeks, being it was like consuming your life, which is fair. To me, I do really, really like it. I think I do prefer it over Sometimes Forever. I always get, I know, I said it before, I get that in the Drake album confused.
That's a good sign.
Well,
They're too similar and they
whatever.
came out at the same time.
Yes. What's the
They are very sonically similar.
word, comma, word?
Yeah.
And they both came out at the same time. So Sometimes Forever, I do prefer it. I do prefer Evergreen over Sometimes Forever, even though I think there are highs on Sometimes Forever that are higher than the highs on Evergreen. But I think Evergreen is a more consistent, well-rounded record. It's the Evermore to folklore, if you will. So, yeah, I think definitely. I don't think people are necessarily sleeping on it, but
I think
check
they
out
are.
Soccer Mommy.
I think they
She's underrated. Yeah, very, very good album.
I agree. Alrighty. My number 10 album is
Trying to make peace with streets fashionable with let fly. Amused with truthful views, refuse to spread lie. Hope it's borrowed time when my time come. I hope it's borrowed time when my time come.
this one just slipped into the top 10. There's going to be so many snubs in this video, so I'll cover a lot of honorable mentions. This was an impossible list. And I think this year especially was like, there's some that I like more, but I agree that there are albums better than the ones I like more. So these are my favorite albums of the year. I had a weird mental gymnastics to go through with this list. But this is my first Ka album, which is tragic in multiple ways that I'll get into. But The Thief Next to Jesus is a pretty conceptual record, kind of tackling the very complicated history of Christianity and religion, specifically in America, when it relates to a country built on slavery and colonization, in terms of how spirituality kind of mixes with that. and it is just phenomenally written, phenomenally produced. He did the production and the writing on this. The beats are very, I don't want to say deceptively simple, but there's a lot of loops from more like gospel influences and things, and there's just like a lot of fantastic looping going on here. The tracks are like so densely and beautifully written. His delivery, it took a little bit to get used to. He's definitely a little bit more mundane when it comes to delivery, but like all of the substances in the actual writing. And once you kind of get used to that, this thing just like really, really, really opens up. Like Broken Rose Window, the beat on that is incredible. Even his hooks are great, even if it's like just a simple kind of refrain over and over again. It hits really, really well. It's paced beautifully. Overall, really fantastic. He did unfortunately pass away earlier this year, so that's just like another tragic element to this thing, because he did kind of touch on mortality quite a bit on this record. But he is someone that I'm gonna have to go back to and listen like through all of his discography, because this album is phenomenal. I think it's a perfect send off. Kind of crazy because like he was a firefighter and I believe a first responder on 9/11, and I think he died in duty this year, if that's correct. So incredibly interesting person. Just the writing and the personality and just the wisdom of all of this just pours out on this record, and it is really phenomenal. So if you're into that more New York hip hop underground stuff, don't miss this one. I think it's getting a lot more press just because of the unfortunate events surrounding it. But don't miss out. That's my number 10.
Nice.
Good job. My number 10 is Memory EXO by Igloo Ghost. Completely switching gears from what you just talked about, but I got a lot more into like ambient IDM type stuff this year because of this guy.
Yeah, I couldn't
pretty much. But this one is very much like a glitchy, kind of like UK drill inspired type EDM album, and it's like very technically, it sounds great. Like I feel like the better headphones you have, the more you're gonna enjoy this. I don't really have too much to say about it because I didn't spend too much time with it. It's just like a good one to come back to every once in a while, and it sounds like really, really good. So if you're kind of like into like that glitchy IDM stuff, I think you'll definitely like this one. He's a very, very good producer. Like everything, you can hear everything very, very clearly, even though there's like a million things going on at the same time. Every time someone's talking, it sounds like they're like a million miles away from you, but you can still hear them perfectly. Like it's just like he's a really like impressive producer. So if you're into that kind of stuff, it's just like a good front to back listen where everything just kind of blends together in a good way. But yeah, I don't have too much else to say about it besides it sounds fantastic. Great.
That's all you need to say, I think.
Yes.
All right. My number 9 is surprising even to myself that it's this low.
Snow falling, try to keep from calling. Watch the spring turn to winter, fireflies all frozen.
Yeah, so this is an early one this year. I think it came out in like March or something. I don't know.
March 22nd.
Hi, I was right. Okay. So, yeah, I think this album, I listened to it, obviously on the channel. Actually, all 3 of us did on the channel. It was one of the few videos that Bab Jab was on this year. And I think I was very hyped going into it because I heard the single Sadness is a Gift, which is probably the best song ever. I love that song. And I don't know. I think the album itself was a little bit disappointing. I don't think it totally lived up to that, but that's very hard to do. I'm trying not to hold it against it, but it's just something that I don't really return to a whole lot more than, I don't know, 8 other things. I was expecting this to be my number 1 in April, and here I am in December, and I don't know if I've listened to it in 6 months. But I want to give it its flowers because I did really, really like this thing. I still do. it's just not something I return to a lot, which I think is probably unpopular because I'm sure a lot of people really like this album, and I do too, but not that much. So it's still number 9. I like it more than the Soccer Mommy album, but it's number 9.
I had the same thing happen. So
Oh,
there's just a couple of
really?
songs where it's like, but then there's others that are like the best
Yeah.
thing I've ever heard. So
Yes, yeah, it's kind of all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
but the highs are very high.
very
Same
high.
thing. Same
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
thing with the Soccer Mommy thing, I guess. I don't know. There's a pattern here, but
Real.
I don't know.
Hashtag noticing.
Hashtag noticing. I'm gonna try, like, over half of my list are things we did videos on.
That's true.
So it's gonna be kind of hard to talk about them because we did it in the video and then we also talked about them in the retrospectives. So I'm gonna keep those brief, and I swear that there's albums on here that we have not done on the channel
No way.
yet as we keep going. But that's my number 9.
Great. Mine does not segue after that nicely at all. My number 9 is
What? Many? You ain't even know a nigga had it in him. All you saw was a henny. That's not a hemi, that's a venom. All the boat on the Jimmy. Don't try to give me that problema. Biddies be acting silly at the viddies. Ask Camilla. All you saw was a Philly. I told you city half vanillas. Call the committee. Tell them niggas Billy at the dealer. Told the kitty. Let her know it's really that for real. All she wanted-
I think it's Rich Ass.
Rich Ah?
Yeah, Rich Ah Haitian. That's what we'll go with today. This is my 3rd or 4th Makami album. Definitely got into him, I think, early this decade. Yeah, Pray for Haiti in 2021 was my first real visibility to him, and that album was pretty great. Executive produced by West Side Gun, so all the pacing and everything was really fantastic. But this one here feels so much better. That album's good, but this one is really just like him on a platter, basically. The production here is just so incredibly colorful and vibrant and lively and varied. It's very much still, you can feel the boom bap influence and that kind of more classic Mos Def-y kind of style that he has, but at the same time you have people like Kate Tronada and Messiah Music bringing this really nice abstract, warm, kind of jazzy beats at times. The features here are all incredible, besides the Yoral Droog feature, which does ruin that song, unfortunately, and that did knock it down a place on this list, unfortunately. I feel like that verse should be taken off of that song because the beat on Empty Spaces is so incredible, and Droog comes in and just ruins it with one bar about a dog that I will not repeat, but it really does not sit well on that. But other than that, the rapping on this album is phenomenal. He is one of the best rappers alive right now. Like there are certain pockets he reaches in a lot of these songs where he is just flowing so incredibly well. It's like almost too much to like really handle. I think especially on the title track, his like second verse is absolutely insane. I think every other syllable is rhyming with each other, and there's just this crazy insane flow that goes with it. The subject matter is fantastic. It's got some of that braggadocio that you get from him, but he also like always centers Haiti in his music. So there's a lot of talks of colonization and how it's the poorest country in this Western hemisphere and all of the things that kind of relate to that. But there's just a really super warm communal tone to a lot of this record. It's incredibly varied. You have these fantastic kind of jazz dancey tracks, and then you have some straight up boom bap stuff that just goes really hard. So if you have not heard this album this year, please do. It is incredible. I think it just really blew me away when it first came out. It's just one of the most colorful and just like vibrant hip hop albums I've ever heard. So really fantastic. I think Political especially is one of the best songs this year. And then also Copy Cold with Black Thought, where Makami and Black Thought hold each other on their own, which is crazy because Black Thought is ridiculous when it comes to features. So that's my number 9.
My number 9 is Wall of Honor. I went through my Radiohead phase in the past couple of years, so this one kind of came in at the good time. Yes. But yes, this is very much so a Tom York album. There's so many moments on here where you're like, yep, this was made by Tom York. I think I kind of have the same sentiment of this one having really high highs, but like also equally some stuff that I am not too crazy about. But like Teleharmonic and Bending Hectic are like, if those were Radiohead songs, they would be top 10 Radiohead songs. So I think this just comes down to me kind of scratching that itch of like newer, new age Radiohead type stuff. I know it's kind of doesn't give them enough credit just saying it's Radiohead, but with it being two members, I feel like it's a pretty fair comparison. But yeah, I feel like this one just kind of came down to how much I have enjoyed Tom York's style of making music. And a lot of these songs fall into that category. So front to back, it's still really good, but there's just a couple songs that pop out to you like, wow, these are amazing. So yeah, that's my number 9.
Came out in January. That was like forever ago.
Yes, it feels like it didn't come out this year.
Exactly.
Yeah, there was a couple of those where I had
Yeah.
to double check. Where I'm like, it's right on the edge, and I don't think any of those made it. So, sorry. All that work was for nothing, but that's okay. My number 8, another shocking one, I think, for many.
Don't have to think. With you, there's no pretending. You know me. You know me.
I know this should be my number 1. For some reason, this was a very good video.
It
I
was
really
one of my
like.
favorites.
It was very, very fun. We did it in person. And I think that was a very fun experience. And that first reaction was awesome. Not great, like, auditory experience. We were just playing it
On
off a
sound
sound bar. So we weren't really getting all the intricacies. But man, that was just a really fun time. And I think I did listen to it for a while. I swear I actually listened to these albums. Like I feel like these 3 are like I listened to it a couple times, but it didn't really grab me. And Claro did. This one was like right in between, where I feel like Bright Future and Evergreen, they held me for like a couple weeks and I kind of disappeared. Charm held me for like a month and a half, and then I'm like, okay, I kind of get it. And I swear I really, really like Claro. I don't know if this is her best. I have a very soft spot in my heart for Sling. But Charm is not very far behind. I think there's just a lot of great stuff that came out this year. So sorry, Claro, you're getting a number 8 spot. But I really do like that album quite a bit. And watch that video that we did because it's very fun.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard a couple Sling songs the other day, and I'm just like, you can't top this. Like, it comes really
Unfortunately,
close, but there's something in that record.
Yeah, it's
Alright.
the second best album that Jack Antonoff ever produced.
That's true. The first?
Right behind
We won't tell you.
1989. I don't even know if he produced 1989.
I don't think he did.
I don't think so.
I think he was still in fun around that time.
Yes, I think so.
Doing what he should be
Probably.
doing.
Yeah, he should have. Well, I don't think it was his call to disband the band.
No. It was probably Nick. Is that his name?
Nick Reus.
Yeah,
Jonas.
Nick Reus.
Nick Jonas.
They made stars and said, wrap it up. We're not getting better than this. We're done.
We're not getting any better than this.
True.
We ripped off Kanye. We did the auto-tune thing. We're done. That's it.
That's all you can do. Yeah.
All right. My number 8 spot goes to
Can't clock the kill on the mystery. Force past will, eating everyone eventually. Can't clock the kill on the mystery. Force past will, eating everyone eventually. Can't clock the kills on the mystery.
I think if you listen to the podcast, I talk at length every time Elucid drops a solo album, and I always am so sad to report that, like, it's not nearly as good as it could be. There's something with his solo work where it's like a very unique problem where I don't think the instrumentals do enough to match him. I think he's on his own planet most of the time, and when it comes to Arm & Hammer releases, he finds his pocket and he finds his lane and he does his job incredibly well. But on his solo efforts, I feel like the production hasn't been up to par with just the way he carries himself on tracks. That completely changes with this one. This is his Fat Possum debut, so he's got more money behind this. Got a solid label foundation to really build something that is truly his, and I think that's what happens here. This album is a really crazy mix of like experimental hip hop, stuff that you could have heard from LP in the early 2000s. It's got some metal influences, it's got some industrial influences, some live drums all around this thing. It's a very psychedelic and like crazy album to go through. And on this thing, he's like he's definitely rapping, but there's more of, he's got these mantras, he's got these statements that he's really trying to drill into people, and his verses can often be like one word that he sticks at you and continues to the next. It's a very interesting way of delivering his messages here, but they come across incredibly well. There's so much variety on here. The World is Dog is like this incredible like drum and bass intro that is just so energetic. CCTV has this like metalcore breakdown as the beat. Bad Pollen with Billy Woods is fantastic. I think this was on the Arm & Hammer white label thing that they released earlier this year. But really fantastic. I love Woods' verse on that one. And I think just the subject matter and like the thing he's really going for here just like heightens everything with the instrumentals and everything. Just like this chaotic state the world is in and how confusing and maddening and insane that can be. And finding little pockets of joy in that, but also just like reveling in how insane and apocalyptic this is, where the Revelator names come from. Fantastic tracks. Like there's some that are just really chill and some that are just like off the wall insane. Hush Puppies is crazy. It's a song about finding a fish fry on a Friday, and it goes so ridiculously hard.
I was
It's
going to
so
ask
cool.
about that one.
It's
Where's the one who
so
goes
great.
Friday fish fry?
Yeah. I must find fried fish. But yeah, incredible record. I love Some of Disregard as well. My Landlord is a Zionist is a line that is just like incredible. The way he plays with that is insane. Zigzag Zig is one of his most unique songs as the closer here, and it's just incredible. I absolutely love it. So yeah, he finally did the solo effort that I was really expecting him to, and he definitely lived up to it. I think people don't understand how much of him goes into Arm & Hammer, especially when it comes to beat selection and the way that things really come across as a Phoenix project. Because you can hear Diabetic Test Strips all over this album, but this is still uniquely him, and you can kind of feel how much he put into that record. So fantastic. I love that I can finally give him flowers for a fantastic solo album. So number 8.
Thank you, Lucid.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lucid. My number 8 is Dark Time.
I long for loving and affection. These hoes ain't what I need direction. Don't leave me, please, swear I learned my lesson. But I still chase thrills.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think he's been on my list a couple of times since we've been doing this. He is just like a very consistent, like he's so consistently good. Like no matter what vibe he wants to go for, he's great at it. This one I think is definitely his best lyrically. I think it's his densest lyrics, his most, food for thought lyrics, kind of. He kind of talks about his experience in life right now of like paranoia, feeling like he's left people behind, just kind of his state of mind in current day. And I think he does it really, really well. I think that it's definitely like a more low key one. It's definitely not like his self-titled where it's like just going as hard as he can. But I think this one is just like really good. I think it's definitely his best lyrical work, like I said. Shame on the Devil is one of his best songs ever, probably one of my favorites of his ever. And yeah, I think it just is showing how he continues to evolve through kind of whatever he wants to do with his sound. So I think it's just a great, consistent, awesome album.
Etouffee
Yes.
is a banger.
Yes.
Yes, Dark Times unfortunately got snubbed off of my list, but man, very, very good project. I actually have it on vinyl, which
Where did
was
you get
maybe
that?
a bad decision because it's just black.
Yeah,
It works good
Wow.
for when you have to put up the black album covers.
that's true.
I've never had to do that. Though
yeah.
the thing that I'm worried about is that I put it up. I don't know, peek behind the curtain. I had a bunch of albums that came out this year behind me, and then I put up Dark Times, and I'm like, this looks like Donda. I don't want to. I don't want to have that in the background and have people comment, "Oh, does this dude like Kanye West?"
I like
I'm
Donda. Donda's pretty great.
I'm not risking it.
I would talk about Donda in a 2024 list.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I
Kanye has
just
done
didn't
nothing
wanna...
since Donda. I'm just gonna keep talking about Donda.
nothing ever happened after that.
Nothing happened.
That's fair. Anyways, my number 7.
It's not fair. 'Cause I know you like the back of my hands. Don't you try.
So this is the first one that I really, really like and listen to consistently, even today. I think this was in a crazy run. We did it like those 10 albums that we did. Smile. I think it kind of got buried for you because it was, just buried. But me, I love this thing. It's not as good as Nurture. Just gonna get that out of the way. I don't know if that needs to be said,
It does.
but
Some
okay.
people, yeah.
Wait, really? People? So there are people that say that this is better than Nurture? Okay, well then those people are dumb. But Smile is very, very, very good. I think it peaks in the front and then it peaks in the back. It slumps in the middle.
Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks? Yes, a very good strip club. I just think that Year of the Cup and Kitsune My Son Freestyle, however you say it, are just fine. But, Knock Yourself Out through Perfect Pinterest Garden. Perfect Pinterest Garden has grown on me like no other song on this album, and I don't know why. It's just this dumb little interlude where he's playing this like douchey, like, I don't know, cool pop star guy, and I just love it. And I don't really understand why. And also Mona Lisa was one I think that neither of us were too hot on, and the reaction has really grown on me a lot as well. And then I don't even know if I need to bring up how great the last 2 songs are.
Fantastic.
And also Easier to Love You. Like, I don't know if I really emphasized enough in that reaction video, like how much that song really hit me. Maybe it only happened after the fact, but I think just like after Nurture being this huge kind of, or at least in my eyes, a celebration of like beating this like this darkness that he was in and emerging a beautiful little butterfly prancing around in a flowery field.
Pinterest garden.
It's, yeah, perfect Pinterest garden, if you will. And then this album being very, very different. It's fine, but then like the Easier to Love You, like bringing in those elements of Nurture with like the high-pitched vocals while talking about like him kind of receding back into that was like really, really sad. And it hit me really hard after the video as I was like listening to the lyrics and like getting into it. And I'm like, this is devastating. This is not the arc I wanted for this guy. It kind of plays into the theme of the record because it's like, I don't really know this guy at all. And that's the whole thing. It's all about
record is
parasocial.
parasocial.
Yeah, all parasocial relationships and how we shouldn't be like getting too attached and whatever. But man, that track really hit hard, especially after listening to Nurture again. So yeah, very, very good. It's not as good as Nurture. Nurture is one of the best albums of all time. I'll put that on record right now. So
I'll go sign
That's a
that.
hot take.
it's a hot take.
No, not a hot take.
Oh,
I think it's
okay.
justified.
I think so too. I don't care, but it's great. So
Yeah, that might have
that's
a
my
negative
number
effect
7.
on him as an artist because we have Nurture as our introductory point.
That's
but-
true. That's true. I have not heard the album that he did before
I
it,
haven't
Bab
either.
Jam.
You won't like it, I don't think.
Okay, so I think this is a perfect stopping point. I'll happily listen to whatever comes out next, but right now he has 2 albums in my eyes, and they're both really great. One is near perfect. So
Real. My next album is so similar to that. This was wild. I've listened to a Knocked Loose record before this came out, and I didn't like it. I thought the vocals were too whiny, and it was very not what I was into. But then this thing came out and it blew me away, both literally and figuratively. This is so loud and heavy and insane. Yeah, it just goes so ridiculously hard. I think it breaks multiple genre barriers when it comes to like if you're into heavy music or metalcore, which I'm not really into metalcore. But it's phenomenal. It's a quick 10 tracks, 27 minutes, but it kind of grips you and doesn't let you go for the entire length of it. There are just, it's punishing. It is so loud and the distortion is off the charts. You have this man screaming in your ears the whole time, barking, doing all this crazy stuff. It really is phenomenal. Like, just Thirst starts at like this very quiet point, and then they just hit you over the head. And as soon as it starts about the 1 minute mark, it does not let you go until the last couple of minutes of the last track. Suffocate with Poppy is insane. Poppy like matches the energy here perfectly. She had her own record this year that was pretty solid as well, but her feature on this is like one of the best features of the year. They just did a Jimmy Kimmel performance of Suffocate, and a lot of people got very angry at that because it is so ridiculously heavy that I don't think TV audiences are really prepared for this kind of music, compared to what else Jimmy Kimmel puts on their station. But it's so fantastic. This is not really a genre of music I talk about a lot, so it's kind of hard to express the subtleties of it and what all the little parts that make it great. But if you're going on a workout sesh or something where you just need to like let everything go, put this thing on full volume and you'll just ride away for 27 minutes. And it's just like an adrenaline rush of just amazingly produced, amazingly performed tracks that flow so well into each other. So Knocked Loose, great job. Fantastic.
I think from this point on, like my 7 through 1, I feel like are so close to each other that I could like give you a different answer like every day about how I rank them.
Yeah.
But my number 7 is Knocked Loose.
Oh, wind up.
Much like Babby, this is not my lane at all. But oh my god, this thing sounds amazing. Like, it is so heavy, but you can hear everything so well that it's just like insane. Like, I'm not gonna have a lot to say about it because Babby kind of covered the bases. I kind of had his same thing where like the lyrics or the vocals kind of sounded a little bit whiny and repetitive, but like after you listen to it, it's like hypnotic almost. It's like front to back, it's so loud, but it sounds amazing. Suffocate, like you talked about, is like a crazy song. I love that one. Kind of like the Igloo Ghost one. I feel like I just kind of listen to it front to back every time and it all kind of blends together, but like in a good way. Like I can't really pick out.
Why not?
Yeah, like I can't really pick out specific songs and say those are my favorite besides Suffocate. But like it's just like you can't hear anything like besides this for 27 minutes and your eardrums are just gone. But like it's awesome.
In a
So
good way.
yes. So number
I can't
7.
wait for Jerry to have that as number 6.
I'd never even heard of Knocked Loose until you guys
We'll do a
both
reaction
put it on
to
your
it.
list. Oh,
You'll
perfect.
hate it.
Nice. Well, it can't be worse than Cemetery.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I really
Butcher House was an honorable mention for me.
I looked up Butcher House. I'm like, does this come out this year? I need to have it
No,
as
it
an
doesn't.
honorable mention. It's the worst album I've ever heard.
Was it worse than Rainbow Bridge 3?
Oh yeah,
Rainbow Bridge 3 is
yeah.
fantastic.
miles worse, if you
Yeah.
will. Rainbow Bridge 3 is an island in like the Bikini Isles, but then Butcher House is the Marianas Trench. That's basically how it is. And Rainbow Bridge 3 is also terrible. In this analogy,
true.
like every good album is in an airplane, and then like perfect albums are on the moon.
Okay.
So that's kind of the scale that I'm working on here.
Baba
Sea
Yaga goes
level.
hard.
I disagree. But my number 6, a little bit of a
Reincarnated, I was stargazing. Life goes on, I need all my babies. Woke up looking for the broccoli. High key, keep a horn on me, that come my seat. IP, ownership, the blueprint is by me. Mr. Get Off, I get off at my feet.
I've never heard of this guy before, but I guess
Underground
he's a
king.
rapper. Yeah, I don't know. I was more of a Drake guy, but then I heard that like he was like
He's not
taking
like
shots
us.
at this Drake guy. And then, yeah, so that's kind of how I found out about him. I don't know.
That's it.
It's an interesting
Number 6.
album. My number 6 is GNX by Kendrick Lamar. It's a good album. It came out of nowhere, actually. That's the thing that they don't tell you, is that there was actually no rollout. The whole thing is just going to be bits, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, so I think surprisingly, I don't remember what Mr. Morale was in 2022. I can't imagine that it was lower than in my top 3. So I'm kind of shocked that GNX is number 6, but I think
Came
it's
out
just
so
too
late.
new. Yeah, at this point, I'm like, okay, I really, really like it, but am I bold enough to put it in my top 5? I don't think so, especially because of all of the Kendrick Lamar projects that I've listened to and loved. This is, I don't know if I'm gonna say it's it's the one that I resonate with the least. I think it's the album that we
different.
needed from him at this moment. I think like the moment is great. And I'm really glad that, he just surprise dropped out of nowhere and had some fun for once for most of it.
Yeah.
I will say that like Gloria and Reincarnated and Heart Part 6, those are my favorite tracks. The ones where he goes more in depth and like does the weirdo Kendrick stuff, that's the stuff that I really vibe with the most. And while of course I love Luther and I love TV Off, the big hits, there's just some songs in like I don't know, the last half where I'm like, oh, I don't know if I really need to hear. Sorry, I don't know if I need to hear like GNX or Peekaboo. I don't really. Those are not ones that I vibe with. It's fine. It's fine. I'm the hot take guy. That's okay.
That's true. That's true. It's your job.
It's my job. But like my sleeper hit, I love Dodger Blue. That's
Real.
a great song. And I
Redeemed.
wish that I don't know what her name is because I don't think she's listed as a feature, but she has just one line or something. She just like comes in. And I love her line. And I know that sounds super corny and like weird, but I'm like, I wanted to like look into her things. And like, she has a great voice. And even though it is just one line, I thought her delivery was great. And I also listened to all of Roddy Ricch's albums because I really
Roddy
like him
Ricch
on
stan.
that. Yeah, well, it's just like I saw him on there and I never really heard of him. I knew that he was like,
They dethought him.
yeah, like he was a guy. I think he made the Xbox with like Dwayne Johnson and Bill Gates, but like I didn't really hear about him besides that. So then I checked him out and it's pretty good. He's a pretty good singer. Not so good a rapper actually. But I
I'll
really
agree
like
with
his
you.
Anyways, Squabble Up's good too. Yeah, I really like. I don't really know if I gave any sort of salient anything during this segment, and it was just mostly me acting like I don't know anybody. But that's okay.
We have a
It's
reaction.
a good album.
Watch it.
We do. We do have a reaction, and I think we both did pretty well in it.
I think so.
Some reactions you can tell that I'm just phoning it in, or Babby's just phoning it in. We're going through the motions.
Yep.
This is the second time that we've listened to this album. We secretly recorded a reaction and it went
And we lost all
poorly.
of it, so we just did it again.
Yep, we've
On
done
record.
that.
We didn't
Honestly,
do that. We never do that,
I
but-
think half of the videos that we did this year were actually second takes. So it's been a year. I
Cemetery
guess you
took
could
4
say.
tries.
Yeah, it was really rough. But GNX is a good album, and you guys should check it out if you haven't. It's not enough people are talking about it, I think.
I haven't listened to it personally.
That's okay. You'll get to it eventually.
Anyways, my
Well,
number 6
maybe-
is GNX.
Hey, we did it.
Yay. Yeah. It's weird that this is not the biggest event Kendrick has done this year. I felt like this entire year has been a natural rollout for this thing.
Yeah, the Super
He's
Bowl.
he's been active all year, which he never does. He popped out in I think it was April with the Like That feature. And then we got a whole bunch of diss tracks and madness, and I don't know. Just the night when Meet the Grams dropped was like one of the best things ever in my entire life. I don't
I
think
love
you
the
can
Fantano reaction.
Yeah, you can never live up to that moment again. That was I was shaking. It was insane. Like the Drake video came out, I watched it, and then all of a sudden, like everybody was like, "Oh my God, he dropped!" And I'm like, "That's not real." And then you just watch this man absolutely eviscerate, personally, his entire family, which was crazy. And then we get Not Like Us the next day. So, all leading up to this, the Super Bowl performance, everything, and this is exactly the album that everybody wanted him to make. I still feel like this was made in like 2 months, which is insane.
Yeah.
I feel like it has to be, given all the contextual things in it, but it goes hard. It's fantastic. This is what I've been wanting from a Kendrick, especially after Mr. Morale and how heady that album is. I don't listen to it as much because it is so personal.
Yeah.
But this one is like addicting. Whacked Out Murals is incredible. I love the build on it. Hey Now, incredible. Like all of these things that were so weird and goofy, I'm glad he's just letting that fly because it's like so addicting. He's got this like meme rap that he's like inserting into real hip hop songs, and it's working and it's catchy and it's fantastic. Peekaboo is fantastic. It's amazing. I didn't know what to feel about it on the first listen, but like that song is so addicting, and I just love how he goes peekaboo every time.
Hard P.
Yeah, hard P.
There's no pop filter.
No pop filter.
Oh, no.
AZ Check's verse on it is incredible as well. Like those two do so well together. I think just all the features from like local smaller artists really pop on this album, and it just works.
yeah.
Of course, SZA's features are incredible, but like even the title track GNX has grown on me so much. I think Hitta's verse on that particularly is really great. I think Young Threat at the back is a little, that's where everybody got tripped up because he's going like really like monotone on this beat that's already very monotone. But it still goes really hard. So endlessly replayable, which a lot of people will criticize Kendrick where it's like, I can't replay this a lot. Here you go. Those are mostly people that are critical of Kendrick just because they like Drake or something.
I love Drake.
I love Drake too. He did great on Wagwan Delilah. My favorite song
I
this
love
year.
that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, fantastic for all the reasons that you said, and as well as just like put some respect on Peekaboo. That's all I have to say.
That's the moral of the story.
Okay. I like that song now.
Good. Mission accomplished.
My number 6 is not GNX.
Dang it.
Unfortunately. My number 6 is
The pain of the bubblegum dog is finally catching up with me. Who'd believe I saw tenement homes built upon the fault line? Juvenile cats and birds.
Oh, number 6.
I feel very odd putting an MGMT album this low.
Came out 20 years ago, so
Well, that's
considering
true.
I am a glazer of MGMT on this channel. So I think my overall opinion is that it's obviously a great album and a great addition to their discography, but it doesn't really, like, it's not neck and neck with Lil Dark Age or even Congratulations. But there's still a lot of great moments on it. Like Mother Nature is a great single. I think Dancing in Babylon, it's like the only time they've had like an actual listed feature in their discography,
Oh,
which is
really?
weird. Yeah. But Frady's song, I love that song. I don't know what it is about it, how it just like falls apart at the back half, but that one is great. Even like I Wish I Was Joking, that one's really good. It's all just like really, really good music. Very agreeable, yet still like has their little twang on it that they have in all their music.
Absolutely.
I think overall it's a great addition to their discography. I think they are the GOAT pop group. It just does not, maybe it'll age better with time, I don't know, but it just doesn't really hold up to what they've done in the past. But it's still great because they have that insane expectation that I place on them. So
That's true. That's true.
that's my number 6.
banger.
Number
Top
6.
5, big dogs. The rest of the list doesn't matter. This is the top 5.
That's right.
That
All
was
the
all
other
real
albums are
albums.
bad. I hate all 6 through 10, and all the other albums I listened to were trash in compared to this. My number 5 pick.
The word was weaponized as soon as it had passed your lips. I'm a gentleman. I refuse to show my
this is a shock to everybody, probably. Everybody knows that I hate hipsters
Music.
and I hate music. I hate artsy music. This isn't really artsy, but I always associate Vampire Weekend with like weirdo artsy folk, which is not my jam typically. I only listened to this album because I thought the album cover was cool. You might not actually notice it if you look at the album cover. Spider-Man is in it. It's a little trick they did. Some trick photography was used, so don't be fooled. It's not AI. It's actually trick photography.
It's practical photography too, I think.
I can't speak on that. I can just say that it was at least a split diopter, which is a fun word that I learned the other day. But what I like is Only God Was Above Us, the album, not just the cover. The music is actually really good too. Yeah, it's more accessible than any of the other Vampire Weekend albums I've tried. And believe me, I've tried. And I think just right off the bat, Ice Cream Piano, I think it's a Ukraine song. Honestly, I don't know much about what they're talking about in general, because I think they're British. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Ew. I don't know.
They're probably British, in which case I don't really care what comes out of their mouths anyways.
But it's number 5, so.
It's number 5. Well, I don't really care what they say. It just sounds great. It's a lot of really fun, like indie. I don't know what kind of music it is,
Baroque
honestly.
art rock.
That sounds correct. All I know is that there's a couple songs that sound like Miracle Musical, and there's a couple songs that sound better than those, I think, because the Miracle Musical ones are the worst ones. I think that the one that really sticks out is Connect. That's the Miracle Musical one. There's like a full-on like breakdown in the middle of it with like a piano solo, and I'm like, this sounds just like that song in the Miracle Musical album where it goes reverse and then it goes the forward, and then there's like weirdo instrumental things in that, and so it's just
Horrible song.
Yeah, it was okay. This is a little bit of a tangent. I picked that album just because I wanted to make a damn joke. And I'm not saying
It's our most
like,
popular
oh,
video now. So
it's our
we did
most
good.
popular video, and I did it as a bit because I wanted to say it was damn inspired.
That's true.
And
That it was in that song.
It
in
was
particular.
very, very damn inspired. I think actually, sorry, I'm taking this. If you watch that reaction, like for the first couple of songs up until that song, you can probably see me laugh because I'm making myself laugh knowing that I'm going to say it's damn inspired when I get to that song. That's the only reason I picked that album. So
That's the
sorry,
state of our channel at the beginning.
It was all for a bit.
Exactly.
It was a good bit. Anyways, back to the serious music discussion. Yeah, I really like classical. I think Hope is really good. It's a really great closer, 8 minutes long. Basically just saying that, it's ironic. It's a song called Hope, but it's just like, hey, we're never going to win. The bad guys are always going to win, and we're going to die, and we're going to be dust, and that's pretty sick.
It's true.
So it's just like, I hope you get over it, basically. And that's how you end the album. That's like full of like political commentary and social commentary. Just be like,
Analysis done.
Whatever, we're fucked. That's kind of how the album ends. And it's
That's how my
awesome.
entire list is.
It's a great, great album. I think big shout outs, my big standout tracks. Prep School Gangsters. That one just has a weirdo little groove to it that I really like. And Mary Boone. I didn't know that that's what that song was called until like a week ago because I just listened to the whole album and I don't really look at my phone. And I was like, what are they saying? Because they're British and I don't understand them. And it turns out that they were saying Mary Boone this whole time, which I think is really fun because it follows Gen X Cops. And Gen X Cops is like the most like, I don't know. It's very bold. Oh, it's a good song. It's very, very high energy. There's a lot of like distorted guitars. And then Mary Boone is just kind of like a chill, little relaxing song. The end of the album is very chill. And then there's just Gen X Cops, which stands out like a sore thumb. Support the police or whatever. I don't know. Whatever the vampires want me to say. I don't
Moral of the story.
I don't really know what their politics are. I just want to be
Being vampires
good.
on the weekend.
I love The Weeknd. He should have been on this list.
Next month.
Nah, whatever. Yeah, so that's my number 5. Only God Was Above Us by The Vampire Weekend.
Great. All right. My number 5. Everybody's going to boo. I know. How is it this low? What are you doing? Stupid idiot. Why didn't you react to this on the channel? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I forgot that came out.
This is incredible. One of the best first listens I've had in a while. There was no first reaction because I didn't do it on the channel. I should have. I'm sorry. But incredible. This was just blew me away. We still have not heard Mercurial World. I think it's on Bab Jab's wheel. We just have never done it yet. So it'll forever be in the ether because I don't think it'll stand up to this. Maybe it will. But this is incredible. It's fantastic. The cover is just her getting a CD shoved in her skull, and that's kind of how it feels with this thing. It is so maximalist and over the top and does not let you go. There's so many different like kind of synth poppy just wonderfulness on this thing. Her voice is like Carly Rae Jepsen, and you mix it with just like some amazing like electro disco dance pop, and it just works. It's phenomenal. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I feel like someone else will have this higher on their list, potentially Jerry. Image though, incredible. That song is amazing. Death and Romance, incredible. Tunnel Vision, crazy. I love how the first track and the last track kind of match each other. You can do the loop thing like every other album this year is doing for some reason.
Yeah, it's a thing.
But I don't know, this maximalist, sugary, like over the top pop that like is almost predictable, but like everything they do, like it's good that it's predictable because it hits you with that spike of dopamine every single time it hits. And it is just phenomenal. I think people really rate this thing highly, and I think it deserves it. So Imaginal Disc.
I listened to half of it.
I can't believe you didn't like it. That was like crushing to me.
I don't know if I didn't
I like
like it. I
Didn't
listened
like
to
the best
half of
synth
it.
pop we've had all decade.
I listened to half of it, and I listened to it in passing, and
Okay,
I said,
okay.
you know, it didn't grab me
Okay.
like I thought it would. Oh, I just forgot about an album.
Oh, jeez.
Oh no.
Oh no. Whatever. It's an honorable mention. Sorry. But sorry, I just had a moment. Bab Jab, you can continue.
Okay. Bit of a tone shift. My number 5. I didn't really know how to feel about this one on release. One, because it's Godspeed and their music is like hard to process. And like given the very obvious topical thing that it's about, it was like, okay, how do I listen to this effectively? But after seeing them in concert, it definitely hearing some of these in live, it definitely put it together a little bit more for me. And how it's insane how much emotion they can bring out in their music without saying a single word. This album, just like a little side thing, it definitely helped me connect with Lift Your Skinny Fists a lot more, and I am now in love with that album.
It's very similar.
Yes, but this one was definitely the one where it was the hardest for me to like piece together and explain why I like it, other than just saying it's good. But like if you know Godspeed, you can kind of guess what it's gonna sound like, but it's gonna be great, obviously. So just given the topic, given everything else, it was very hard for me to like just put it together. But front to back, it sounds amazing, of course. The guitar on it obviously sounds amazing. Just blown out, but in a good way. It's just like overbearing to everything. Yeah, it's a Godspeed album. It sounds technically very, very, very good. So I feel like it's kind of one you have to listen to on your own. You can't really have it explained to you.
Sure.
There's no words.
But there is no words at all.
Actually, there are words, but
Technically.
30
I
seconds.
don't know, are they? Are there words?
It's in Spanish, and it's 30 seconds long in the middle of the album.
Oh. Well, I wouldn't be able to understand that anyways.
Exactly.
So this is definitely the one where it's the most on the list. Like, you kind of have to listen to it. I can't really explain it to you. So
That's fair.
number
I'm
5.
Sure, I'm sure Babby will try a little bit later, but that's
I'll
fine.
attempt.
My number 4.
You kinda messed with my wrist. Where's the rest of my life gone? I could have sworn I had a couple more minutes left. I had a speech prepared, but all I said was don't leave just yet.
Is Collapse List by Novo Amor. I still don't know if I'm saying that guy's name right, so apologies.
Sounds correct to me.
I don't know. It's a weird name. So he's Welsh, which usually means that I wouldn't really care what he says, but I really like this album. I kind of went in a Novo Amor rabbit hole this year. I found this album around June or July. When did it come out? April. Okay, so I found it a couple months after it came out. I heard the song Copathetic, and I was like, this is really good. It reminds me of one of my favorite songs, Your Name on a Grain of Rice by Runner. I don't know. Very like wide dynamic range and then big bombastic ending. I call them rice songs named after Your Name on a Grain of Rice by Runner. Pretty self-explanatory, dumbass. Anyway, so I was listening to Copathetic, and it's a very, very good song. And so I'm like, you know what? I'll listen to the whole album, which is something I do very often. So I listened to it, and wow, this is a very, very interesting, yet accessible album. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking about it, because I'm a little dumb, baby, basic bitch, and that's okay. Every channel needs one.
It's true. Dynamic.
Exactly. But, you know, starting off with First Place, I think First Place might have actually been my number 1 song on Spotify Wrapped, which was the most accurate that it's been in a long time.
Absolutely.
At least for me. 3 of these songs actually were in my top 5, which I still don't really know how that happened. But I guess I've been listening to it consistently for half the year, so I guess that makes sense. But honestly, there's no skips on this thing. Maybe I should explain what this is, because I don't know if many people know what this is. Ambient, indie, folk, pop, and grunge. No grunge. I just wanted to make it sound interesting. I just wanted to make it sound interesting, and like you guys are talking about technical things like with Godspeed and Smile and your whatever one that I should listen to that's gonna make my ears bleed or whatever. I just wanted to sound cool and impress you guys, but you guys caught me red-handed. But that's okay. But Just Another Way, the closer, is fantastic. It has a little bit of a twang, the steel guitar, and there's some nice vocal runs and harmonies. Novo Amore's got this like Bon Iver kind of vocal quality where he's kind of always writing that falsetto, but he's got that baritone. So like when he wants to emphasize it, he can. It's very interesting. I listened to all of Bon Iver this year, and then I listened to all of Novo Amore's music this year. And actually, I
Both
listened
French
to the
names.
two. Are they French?
I think so.
Oh. So I listened to the other 2 albums that I hadn't listened to yet this year, actually last night, because I wanted to see if this is my favorite album of his, and it is. I listened to Cannot Be Whatsoever, and there's one good song on that album. Don't At Me, because I think that's the most popular. And then I listened to Eris, and I didn't like it at all. So I don't know. His early stuff seems to be okay, but I'm really liking... maybe his earlier stuff is more poppy, more plastic, and I don't like that. I said that I was whatever, a basic bitch, but it sounds too much like a 2010s pop song, and I
Some
hate that.
integrity.
I have some integrity. I like the weirdo stuff, and that's what Collapse List is. There's a lot of like, it'll go from like something really smooth and calm and ambient, and then it'll play like some weirdo glitchy synth stuff. It's a really nice mix of a bunch of different styles and genres, similar to another album that I'll be talking about later. Flight B471.
Of course.
Anyways, that's my number 4. We will be reacting to that at some point on the channel, probably. It's on my list.
Most likely. Sweet. Okay. My number 4. This was part of the October insanity that happened this year, where I think 4 or 5 of my albums on this list are from that month or close to it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, insane month. And there was just heaters after heaters every week. This thing is phenomenal. I really enjoyed their debut record, God's Country. I think I had that at number 10 on my 2022 list. This thing is just, I rated them equal at first, but this thing just really expanded, and it is, I don't want to say miles ahead of the other one, but it's a lot more present. It definitely builds on their sludge metal kind of noisy sound that they've been doing, but it really kind of hones in on it and focuses more on the overall vibe and cohesiveness of the record instead of the insanity that is Grimace smoking weed.jpg next to Why, which is like a homelessness type song. This record really just hones in on again, very similar to the Elucid album, which is weird because they came out in the same week and I listened to them right back to back. They also have Dog in the first track in the title, so there's a lot of weird parallels going around between these two. I think it was just because they came out at the same time, but just the utter awful state of living in an imperial coronation that is crumbling before our eyes, and that brings upon more death and destruction and hardship for people inside of it and especially outside of it. And that's what this album sounds like. And it is hard, it is heavy, it is unforgiving, but it's also kind of cathartic. It puts all of the darkest, most decrepit, disgusting things that this nation throws upon its people and people across the world, puts it in auditory form, and it's kind of a cathartic release way of the vocalist kind of going from this kind of downtrodden, beaten down, monotone singing in some of these tracks to just like frantic, manic, like screaming and belting of these lines in other tracks. It is just the most therapeutic listening experience I think I've had with an album this year, which is weird because of how down in the weeds this thing really gets. But Shame is incredible. It's talking about the genocide going on and how our tax dollars directly go to the bombs that do that, and we're just supposed to be okay with that. Funny Man talking about the military industrial complex and how we get people into it for poor people that are 18, and we kind of predatorily do that. The New World is incredible. I love this kind of mantra of like the old world is kicking and screaming as it's being drug out, and the new world is struggling to begin, as we're currently seeing that take place. Goes hard. Mask is just their most accessible song, and it's so incredibly good. That's like one of the best pieces of noise rock I've heard in a long time. Energy there is nuts. And the closer, No Way Out, is just, it just beats you down to a pulp by the time you're done with it. This band is incredible. This is the best album with a cross featured on the left side of the cover this year. There's been 3 of them, which is crazy. But yeah, incredible album. It is so present and it's in the moment. And I think it really does describe the mentality, if you're aware of all the things that this country is doing as we're currently living in this really hectic, insane period that is just like, just kind of beginning. I don't think any of this is going anywhere, but it perfectly expresses it, and for that, it's phenomenal. So, number 4.
My number 4 is
utopia.
So this one is definitely like a lot more focused on one thing, like one kind of overarching topic than his last couple ones. I guess Igor was like a concept album, but that doesn't really count. But this one, it's Tyler at this stage in his career, so it sounds great. Obviously, it's got all the synths that are really him. It's got all the drums that are really him. But I think this one has definitely taken the longest to grow on me, and it's still growing on me. I think if we got this album 6 months earlier, it would be higher on my list. But there's a lot of songs here that I was like, yeah, that was really good on first listen, and now they're going on me a lot. Like Judge Judy, I didn't like on first listen. That is an amazing song, and I don't know why I was so stupid. But Darling I, even with the Tizo touchdown feature, people seem to hate him for some reason. I don't know why.
Coward.
But I don't know. But that song is amazing. I love that song so much. I think that definitely a lot of the topic about him, you know, facing parenthood and not wanting that and turning that into a concept for an album is really interesting. Especially after his last one, which was kind of just like I'm the best version of myself. This is how I'm going to flex that. And then his next album being so focused on this topic is really interesting. But I think it has its own vibe, which is really cool. It just has like its own new sound, but still being very much so Tyler. The bigger songs like Sticky, I think are still good, but they're definitely lower on the list for the whole album entirely. I like a lot of the ones which are like not as out there. Like I Hope You Find Your Way Home is a really good closer, even though that one has like no streams at all on it. But
Cowards.
I think as a front to back, it's a great experience. It's just the big hits don't really hit like on the other albums that he has. Mm-hmm. But as an album experience, it is still very good, and it's like a very much a testament to how amazing of an artist he has become over the course of his career, and how he still continues to evolve himself and still sound great while doing it. So, number 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I like Goblin the best.
Yeah.
Goblin Deeds.
Exactly. Speaking of goblins, my number 3 is...
Tell me truly, what is your dream? Tell me truly, is it the city light? And I take a foxglove.
HGYNDERICKS.
You don't gotta be doing all that.
Fun.
You should just spell it like an Xbox username.
Yeah.
It kind of is.
XXX.
Oh, yeah, I guess they should have had the XXX.
The underscore.
But then everyone would have thought this would have been porn music, and nobody would have listened to that, except for Johnny Sins himself while he's plowing a lady or whatever. Anyway, Seed of a Seed is a great little... it's a great 70s folk revival thing. I had never heard of Haley Hendrix. You brought her up on the podcast because you listened to half of the album, and then you said this is very good and you should listen to it. And then I did. And then I very arrogantly sauntered into the next episode being like, this is my album of the year. I hate everything else that came out this year. This is the best thing that's ever happened in my life. It's very, very good. Obviously, it's number 3. But I noticed I listened to it all the time, and then Snow. And now I do not listen to it anymore. I listen to it every once in a while, but man, it is such an autumn album. And I wish that I was like listening to it when it came out, although it came out November 1st. Yeah. So it didn't really give me that much of a chance, because here in Minnesota, it snowed in like the very first week of December. So didn't give me a whole lot of chance to listen to it. But man, for those first couple of weeks, I was listening to it 3 or 4 times in a row every day. It was like my favorite thing. And a big part of that, I think a lot of drawing a lot from 70s folk, mainly like Joni Mitchell or Neil Young, especially in the songwriting, which is peak, as the kids say, I think, which is fitting because it is, she's from Oregon and there's lots of mountains there. That's something they don't tell you.
That's true.
I didn't know that when I got there, and man, it took me 3 hours to get anywhere. I tell you, man, you got to go all the way around those
Tetons.
things. The Tetons. You can't go through. That's something. Yeah. Who's that guy? Paul Bunyan that tunneled through or whatever. The guy who
big
did
blue
Two
ox.
Hammers. Yeah, whatever.
He had 2 hammers.
Yeah, there was a guy who had 2 hammers and he was beating a train or something. It was like an old American folklore. She should have made a song about that. It would have been pretty good. But yeah, the only reason that this is up so high is because there is a song that's named after me, track 9, Jerry's song.
That's true.
It is my least favorite song on the
Dang
project,
it.
but I do have to shout out the person that shouted me out, because she sent me an email and said, "Do you mind if I
made
use
the
your
song for
name?"
you.
Yeah, I saw your reaction to Miracle Musical, and I decided to write a song about you. And I said, "Thank you very much, and I'll let you use my namesake." And the song's trash. Sorry, Haley. It's not trash. It's my least favorite one. But yeah, check it out. It's criminally underrated, and it's one of the best folk albums of the year.
Swoop.
I mean, it is. It's my favorite. Oh, I love Swoop. Swoop is
Swoop.
great. Listen to Swoop. If you listen to no other thing we listen to Swoop.
Real.
That's what I say.
I like
Also
our
listen to Scoop by Lil Nas X.
yes. I like our different approaches of talking about albums where I'm like, this is amazing. And you're like, the song sucks, but I do really like the album.
I didn't say Jerry's song. Well, I
No,
did say
you
that,
did
but it
say
was a
that, but that's
joke.
fine.
It was a bit.
I won't
It was
clip it out
for
of
a
context.
funny joke.
I swear.
The slash J.
fair enough. Yeah, slash J, slash
J.
Jen.
Yeah, can you send that? Well, send that clip to Haley.
Yeah.
Because you have her email too.
I have
Send it to
connections.
her. Yeah, and then just say slash S for sarcastic or slash I for ironic, or I don't know any of the other ones.
I'm gonna get slash
question mark?
SRS with my number 3.
Don't do that. Oh, with your number 3. Okay,
Yes,
that's fine.
It's not serious actually. My number 3 is
I miss you, my dear friend. I only want to hear your voice again.
This was my album of the year for a long time, and it was a mystical first experience with it. This is Patrick Flagel's. This is their drag persona solo group. They were the lead singer of Women, which was a noise rock band from the 2010s on Jaguar. Listen to that record, and it's phenomenal. But this was an album, I think it popped up on an Instagram recommended post that of just the album cover, and that was it. And I'm like, this sounds cool. It's hypnagogic pop, psychedelic pop, and has a lot of weird genres attached to it. The only way you can hear it is a YouTube video or a GeoCities link that has this album on it. So I downloaded the FLAC files. I booted up whatever the freaking VLC media player is, and I just gave it a go. It is 2 hours long. It's a double album, and there's 32 songs on it. The incredible thing about a first experience like that is I had to go out and find it physically and download it, open a program I never opened, and just sit down and listen with no expectations, no nothing. And what I got out of it was just pure magic. This sounds like something you'd find in your grandma's attic on a cassette tape from the 60s that nobody has ever heard. It has this insanely nostalgic 60s pop quality to it, but it is upgraded with like today's lo-fi standards of noisy distorted guitars, crazy ambient pieces, all of that stuff. Their vocals are so incredible because they do their higher register and their lower register, so they're doing a duet with themselves on the same song to kind of build this really nice kind of feeling, warm, fuzzy, nostalgic, but also just like modern lo-fi feel that is just incredible. Another way I could describe it is this is the kind of thing where like you turn on your radio and Fallout and you're just jamming, having a good time and walking around. That's kind of what this is. There's a mystery to it that is just like spellbinding. The guitar playing is phenomenal. There's so much emotion in it. It's fun. It's noodly. There's so many great guitar techniques going on here. I watched a live performance of them doing one of the songs that has like a more complicated riff. They don't have a guitar strap. They were hardly sitting on a stool in like a full long fur coat, just like shredding just nonchalantly, and I'm like, this is incredible. There's so many songs on here, but I think, I don't know, Always Dreaming is phenomenal. Kingdom Come is phenomenal. The opener, Diamond Jubilee, the closer, 24/7 Heaven, everything in between. It is just one that, like, I think the kind of almost ARG component of it, where you have to go find it and download it and just kind of give it a shot, especially with it being 2 hours, that's a big commitment. That kind of stuff pays off. And this one really, really, really paid off. They finally put up a vinyl of it, so I got it. It'll be coming next year. Really excited to give that a spin on record, because I feel like that's where it's meant to be. But phenomenal album. I know a lot of people rate this highly as well. Didn't know about that until I heard the whole thing, and I went on the site and everybody's like, this is crazy. I'm like, oh, I thought I found something special. But it felt like I did in that moment, and that was beautiful. So, fantastic. Listen to it.
My top 3 are also close. I'm
Pick
having
one.
second.
Yeah, pick one right now.
You and I could see into the same eternity. Every second brimming with a majesty.
Ever since Dragon Noir Mountain in 2022, I have been in love with her songwriting. Just her style of performance, the way she sings, the way she writes, everything. I've loved it. This one is definitely like the heaviest, not like sonically, but like thematically. I think it's definitely the heaviest that she's had. Songs in 2020 is also kind of like a melancholic thing like this, but I feel like that one's a lot more easy listening. So this one I don't listen to the most, but I think it is like her technical best. Sadness as a Gift, obviously, fantastic song. Love it so much. Her rendition of Vampire Empire as opposed to the Big Thief version, I think I like this one a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's a lot more raw, a lot more just unprocessed, I think. Even like Donut Seam, Cell Phone Says, Free Treasure especially. I love Free Treasure.
Best song.
Yes. Like Jerry said, this one has very high highs, but as a front to back album, there's definitely a few like dips for me. Like I don't really like Fool that much. Ruined is it's a good closer, but like I don't come back to that one as much if I'm not like listening front to back. But I think the high highs definitely make up for it, and definitely still makes for a great front to back listen.
Absolutely.
She has like such a like humanistic way of writing songs that it's like, wow, that's like the best writing I've ever heard in my life. How she just like talks about how good food smells or how like good running water feels. It's like, yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really the gist of it. It's just I think it's like her technical best, and I think it's amazing and so good and awesome.
Real.
Thank you, Adrian.
Thank you, Adrienne.
Number 2.
My number 2 is
Could describe my harsh mashana. All is silent, and in the next universal dawn.
a shock to many. I don't know.
None.
I don't know. I really, really, really like this thing. I know I said that the Kendrick album came out too soon, so I couldn't rate it any higher, but sorry. This album is
GNX
just
doesn't have
too
mental
dang
health on
good.
it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm really glad that you and I share this love for mental health, because I think that it might, I mean, it's his best song, but it might be like, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it, but you understand the implication. Yeah, so this is like by far his best album. If you watch the video that we did on this album, you'd know that I'm a big John head, as we call ourselves. I'm a big fan of him. Basically, all of his albums, I think, have some merits to them, except for God's Favorite Customer. Don't at me. I hate that album. But Mahash Mashana is fantastic. I think there's no skips. Like, I think I was kind of iffy on Screamland, maybe. Even then, it was just a nitpick where I'm like, I wish he pushed his voice a little bit more because he does have this range. It's very limited, I guess. He just has this like kind of one note thing he does. He has this very full and grand voice. And he kind of rides that, and he's been doing it for about 10 years. And I do wish that on Screamland he did kind of like break it a little bit and really let some rasp out. But I think that's really my only critique of the entire album. Otherwise, it's pretty G-dang perfect. And I think I don't know if it's his most accessible. I still think Fear Fun is, but Fear Fun is all over the place in terms of quality, where there's some really great stuff, and then there's like, oh, this did not age well. This is from 2012. And it's just like, oh, yuck. This, even though it's borrowing a lot of themes and sounds from way back in the day. He's got his like swing revival or whatever he's doing right now. It does feel kind of timeless in a way. There's disco, yes. Well, I don't know. You can't really boil this album down to one genre because it seems like every single track is completely different. I guess you could say it's a musical mishmash. Mahash Mashan is a musical mishmash.
That's a bar.
Miracle musical.
And I listened to this album because Miracle Musical.
That's true.
It was on 9/11, and so I watched the. Sorry, that's a deep cut because Miracle Musical has to do with 9/11, and so I was trying to make that work. So sorry.
You have plenty of other bits. There's one that's bound to miss. It's fine. You did a lot of bits.
I think Being You is like really, really good. I actually, that's the one that's really grown on me the most. I know Mental Health is like a near perfect song, but Being You and Summer's Gone have grown on me like no other. And I just love his little falsetto voice. And I love a good piano ballad. I do have a Billy Joel cover right there. Can't see it because it's too small. But I just love the piano. And I love Father John Misty. I wish that he was my angry dad.
Great. I enjoyed this album a
number two.
lot, and I hate Father John Misty. So that's
I know.
Yeah. Okay. Number 2. Here we go. Easiest title to say. I had issues with that title to begin with, but I feel like it is more fitting now considering that number is in the hundreds of thousands. So I think making a very definitive timestamp of it was actually pretty nice. I love Godspeed. People know this. I would think at this point, especially if you listen to our podcast. I've listened to every single one of their albums. I've gotten multiple hundreds for them. They're phenomenal. They're one of my favorite groups of all time. I knew they were having an album this year. I didn't really know what it was going to be about, even though I could kind of point towards what I thought it was going to be about. And when they announced that it was absolutely about that. Yeah, this thing is heavy. I was like dreading listening to it for the first time. I was excited, but at the same time, I'm like, what are they going to do with this? It's hard when you realize art in a very heated moment politically and socially and everything when there's an active genocide going on halfway across the world. I think this one is very specific considering that the United States directly funds this and the rest of the Western world does. So we have a very close connection to all of this. So what angle are they going to take when it comes to this? This new revival of Godspeed acts very differently than old Godspeed. If this was an old Godspeed, this would be the most depressing, harrowing record you could ever listen to in your life. If it's something akin to F sharp, A sharp, it would be unlistenable in how dreadful it is. But this new revival of the group focuses a lot more on hope and uplifting and all of these grand anthemic kind of ideas that they're bringing forward. So this record sounds like a funeral march in like the most grand arena filling way possible. There are definitely moments where it does calm down and be extremely somber and mournful, but it does not like stay in that the whole time, which I think is brilliant. Sun as a Whole, Sun as Vapors is a perfect intro. like Bab Jeb was saying, the guitars lead this thing like so incredibly well. Seeing it live will just completely open up your brain to like, I didn't know music could do this. The guitars were singing so much in that live performance, you couldn't tell if it was a guitar or like an entire ensemble of choir singers. Like it was an incredible kind of drone going over this whole thing. Seeing Babies in a Thundercloud live was like one of the best things I've ever seen in a concert. They have this fantastic like film projector with flowers growing and dying and being set on fire and all this regrowth and rebirth messaging. I think Babies in a Thundercloud is the best thing they've done in, 3 decades probably. Every song just hits. It really does carry this tone throughout it. And Godspeed politically has always been like dead on. I think you will not find a band more effective on being a wordless group, but every single song, the title of it is just, you immediately know what's happening. You have Babies in a Thundercloud, you have Raindrops Cast in Lead, you have Pale Spectator Takes Photographs, Gray Rebel Green Shoots. All of these just like thematically pair you to a moment where you're supposed to be seeing this certain imagery and these certain feelings, and it comes across so incredibly well. The Chat Pile record it'll give you the most accurate feeling of being alive in this country or around the world in 2024. This is one of hope and like we can build up from here. It's going to be dark for a long time, but there has been a lot of like movement forward. This is the most publicly a Palestinian like support base has ever been in this country and around the world. Things are falling apart. Things are getting to certain places that they've never been before, so things are moving forward. But just the beauty of this album is absolutely phenomenal. It is healing, it is rewarding, and live, it is one of the best things you can experience. The only thing that I have against this record is they did not include the vinyl D-side on the Spotify version, which I understand why they didn't. They always have like a vinyl exclusive thing. But the D-side is basically a 14-minute drone piece of the last track just extended out. It is heartbreaking and horror, like it is like a horror song compared to the rest of this. It is just so mournful. But yeah, incredible record. It's not number one, but like it's so close to being number one. Yeah, incredible. Just so many flowers to this group and what they do. And I think speaking out about something like this when the entire industry and all the monetization platforms are kind of tied to the opposite stance, it does take some balls to actually go out and say these things, like a lot of the artists on my list are doing this year, and a lot of those artists are not in the mainstream. So supporting your local artists, buying all their stuff, and supporting causes and educating yourself about this stuff is the best thing you can do. So phenomenal, fantastic.
My number 2, a little bit of a tone switch, is
This is my fight. I just woke up as a child of the light. Jumped on the beat, had to tell it goodnight. Y'all tried your best, but they hitting it right. Kimber OGM is high as a kite. Shot for successful, I bought me a pint. Watch how I whip, I ain't stir fried or rice. Hit your head crack just for rolling the dice. Now don't believe hype. Believe what you see, now what's said on the mic.
this thing is so fun. It is just fun to listen to. Like, it has some of his most like introspective songs he's ever made, but like it's still just so fun to listen to. You have like the first I'm going to shout out is New Black History. That song is amazing. It is so good. I don't even know what's happening at the end, but
Flume.
It's just, yes, it's so fun. The one where he goes Brazil at the end, that one's good. They finally put it back on Spotify. They took it off for a while. I was very upset. I do think this is his best use of sampling that I've heard. He's got the Janet Jackson sample. He's got a couple more like 90s R&B song samples on here. I think they work really well. He's definitely using a lot more guitar and like live instrumentation, which I think works really well with this kind of like phase of his career, this like natural step after LP. And he's always got his funny lines on here. I think it just comes down to this is just so fun to listen to. Some of it's like really abrasive. Some of it is very pretty. Like Don't Put Anything on the Bible with Buzzy Lee, who is also Steven Spielberg's daughter, which I did not know.
Yeah, that's
but
wild.
she is a Nepo baby who has talent. She sings her heart out. Yes. She sings her heart out over like an NBA commentator sample. Like it is like the craziest thing I've ever heard. It's awesome. Either on or off the drugs is probably the biggest one off of here, and that one is Oh, I love that one too.
AI
I just love
sample.
this whole thing.
Crazy.
Yes. The only time I'll allow it because
Exactly.
he makes
Only
good
good
use of
use.
it. Yes. But yeah, every song has its funny lyrics. It's really, really good ones. Starting the album by saying if I was an NBA player, I'd be Dylan Brooks, but worse is like the most of the time. It's the most like of the time thing you can say, but it's like it's awesome. Yeah, that's it. I have grown to like him more and more with every album than what I've known him for. Like I like Cornballs and then I like LP and then I love this one now. So this
Not a
I don't
Black
want
Ben
to.
Carson fan.
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, even veteran I struggle with sometimes.
Dang it.
That's fair.
But I don't really want to go out and say it's my favorite of his because Cornballs is just and LP. It's all good, but it's definitely up there. It's definitely got a fighting chance. It's just fun. It's fun.
I like Scaring to Hose. That's my favorite.
Cornballs is a masterpiece.
Okay.
Honorable
I
mentions.
just wanted to give you my opinion. I like Scaring to Hose. All right, honorable mentions. Before we get into honorable mentions, I want to bring up an important fact and a correction to something I said earlier.
Okay.
Vampire Weekend's not British.
Oh.
They're from New York,
Oh.
which I guess is one of the closest places to England that you can get in the United States. So it still kind of
Geographically.
stands. Yeah, pretty close actually. They call it New England for a reason. So they're pretty much British over there in my book. If you're from Vermont, you might as well be Scottish. That's what I always say. Anyways, I muted myself there for a second. Honorable mentions is Loss of Life by MGMT. Very, very good album. I actually think it does stand up to Little Dark Age. I really, really like this thing. I think in the reaction I said I like it more than Little Dark Age. I think I like it the same. And I love Dancing in Babylon. I don't really believe in guilty pleasures, but that would be it if I did, because man, that song is so corny, but it is a jam that I love dearly. My second honorable mention is that album. There we go. It's Flight B741 by the King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. This is just a fun little album. That's really all you have to say. Listen to it now if you haven't. If you're feeling sad, if you're feeling down in the dumps because she left you because you were eating too many cherry Twizzlers, then you need to listen to Flight B741 because it'll make you feel a whole lot better. And I think it'll pair well with those Twizzlers. That's probably the message of that album. Except the Twizzlers are wrapped in plastic. So
That's true. Don't let him see that.
don't let them see that. Also, big shout out to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. They've really upped their paper wrapping game. All the albums behind me are blue, and I forgot that this was one of them because I had it in the paper thing, and it has a little marking on the spine. So I thought that's a brown album, and then I inspected it closer, and I forgot. Aha! This is a blue album after all, and for that reason, it gets an honorable mention for having a blue album cover, which is not my favorite color, but I like it. My third honorable mention is that one. It's Underdressed at the Symphony by Faye Webster. Sorry, it's very small. But I don't really want to zoom in my camera because it would mess up my framing. And I'm just so cozy right now. Underdressed at the Symphony is all over the place in terms of quality. There are some songs that I love, like Thinking About You, a perfect Frank Ocean cover, and Underdressed at the Symphony, the title track. I think that's probably the biggest song. It's the one that I see in all of the like art folk playlists that Spotify puts together. So I have to assume that it's the biggest song.
Industry plant.
Is she an industry plant?
No, I don't know.
Please let me know if it is not morally acceptable to like Faye Webster because I'm just so easily swayed by what the internet says about artists. I look up every album on Album of the Year before I listen to it and talk about it on
I
the
need to know what my
podcast.
rating is before I listen to it.
Yeah. Well, I think really what it is I'm petrified that people are going to discover that I'm actually not the music snob that I pretend to be. And yeah, I have the best opinions on everything. But this album gets a little bit too kitschy, too Tumblr core for me, where it's just like, hey, I'm quirky. There's a line in the one of the songs where it says, "I got paid yesterday. I'll probably buy something dumb because I'm pretty childish." I said, "Don't say that, please. Don't point that out. That's just lame." So I do
I
like the
must
song with
consume.
Lily. Yeah. Man, I wish you guys could see me right now. I am like splayed out. I'm so cozy. I like the song with Lil Yachty. It's called Lego Ring. Actually, I don't like that song.
Okay.
That song is kind of terrible. But
Actually, I lied.
actually, that song is pretty bad. But I like it even though it is bad because I don't know. Lil Yachty's funny. He has a warbly voice, and he's doing the like auto tune that he was doing on that prog rock album that he was doing, but it's on a indie folk song, which is awesome. And it's about having a Lego ring, which is something that I think we all identify with, is that we all really want a Lego ring.
True.
My fourth honorable mention is the one that I forgot earlier, and I had to stop everybody dead in their tracks because I needed to write it down. And it is Pulsar by L'Impératrice. Now, they are French, so therefore,
I'm not
you
spelling.
know, I am not going to pronounce it correctly. And frankly, going into it, I was like, well, I'm not going to care. This is going to be terrible. I hate the French and everything they stand for. But I discovered, as I was listening, that they actually sing in English sometimes, and therefore I was hooked. I hate if I can't understand a song because the language, I just don't listen to it. Because I'm a pure-blooded American boy with a chip on my shoulder. But they do sing in English sometimes, and those are the songs that I really like. Except I do like the French ones too. I pretty much like all of their songs. I really like their EP Odyssey, which is what got me into them. Actually, it was a recommended song after we listened to Random Access Memories, which is another video that Bab Jab was on this channel. I've been talking for too long, but it's really sorry. I'm just having a good time waxing poetic about all these albums I like.
Cut your mic off like the ENBIES or whatever.
Yeah, they're gonna get a huge cane.
Have to wrap it up straight.
Sorry, it's funk. It's like European funk though, so not like the real stuff. Yeah, it's not funk. I don't know what it is. It's like Daft Punk, but it's more fun. And there's a Maggie Rogers feature. I get her and Maggie Smith confused because they have the same first name.
It's true.
But they're vastly different people. And that song is very, very good. Honestly, all the features on it are great, and it's just a fun listen. So if you somehow skipped that one, it has a lot of beat boops and a lot of fun times. So can't go wrong with a little ENBIES.
Okay. How much time?
What
do
are
we have?
your honorable mentions?
All right. Rapid fire. Brat, Charlie XCX. Fantastic, amazing. It took me a little bit to grow on it, but it is really fantastic. It took another hit with the whole cringy Kamala DNC thing. That was just horrible. Why did you do that? Why did you co-sign it? What are you doing, Charlie? The album sounds fantastic, though. The remix album is okay. Everything is romantic with Caroline
What about the
Polachek
Blade
is
one?
phenomenal, though. That
Young
one is
Lean
just
one.
ridiculous. The Young Lean one was pretty okay. Yeah, but Girl So Confusing, phenomenal. Everything is romantic. Caroline Polachek, amazing. What else is on there? Club Classics, banger. Yeah, it deserves all the hype it's getting. It's just like I have not been this into like a really, really, really mainstream pop record in a while, and it is a little, it hurts a little bit after
you're a
all the
hipster.
weird publicity. Yeah, I'm a born and bred hipster. But this really did shoot her straight into stardom again after probably like 10 years since she's like really had something that really, really, really blew up. So interesting
Fancy.
seeing how she moved. Yeah, how she moves at this point in her career. So very nice. Next is Navy Blue with Memoirs and Armor. He spelt it the Armauer way, the British spelling, so dock points aren't. But it's a very, very, very good album. This really hit me when it came out. The cover is phenomenal, and the music sounds exactly like the cover does. It is this dreamy, hazy, nostalgic, like spiritual hip hop type sound that is just phenomenal. This is the first solo album I've listened to by him, and I'm definitely going to listen to more of him next year because he is an amazing artist. Super underrated album. Check it out. It's only 25 minutes. You have 25 minutes. Listen to it.
No, I don't.
Bright Future, Adrian Lenker. We talked about it. It's great. It just didn't make the top list. Laura Marling, Patterns and Repeat. Oh my God, this album is so beautiful. It broke me. It's so good. I'm gonna put Songs for Our Daughter on the wheel for next year because this is just phenomenal. Singer songwriter folk with incredibly like intimate production, and it's beautiful. Charm,
Sounds good to
Claro,
me.
it's good. Charm is fantastic. It's great. Juna is just forever in my head. Just didn't make
Yeah, great
make
song.
the list. Beth Gibbons, Lives Outgrown, great record. Honestly, like I tried listening to it back again. I think I listened to it too much when it came out because it just was not hitting the same. It's still a really great record though. I'm just not in the mood for the more slow, drawn out kind of more artsy folk that she's doing on this, but it is a phenomenal record. Mahash Mashana, amazing. Father John Misty killed it for once. I'm so glad he did because this thing is so good.
For once.
For once. I'll stand on that. Chromacopia. That's good. The Dochi feature on Balloon is crazy. And Darling Eye is fantastic. Ratata is fun. It's a great album. More Mother with the Great Bailout. Terrifying, but also very needed. If you want to hear about the lasting effects of colonialism on art and other things, starting with the British in the 1600s over some terrifying jazz poetry and ambient, listen to that. So there's also a deluxe version that makes it an hour and a half with a lot of long drum pieces at the end. It's phenomenal.
That's not 25 minutes.
No, it's not. And it's not easy to listen to either. But
No.
for those
Definitely
who
don't
are
have time for that one.
That sounds right up my alley.
Exactly. Foxing, self-titled, emo group turned noise art rock, and it just goes so ridiculously hard. Hell 99 is an insane track. Hall of Frozen Heads is my favorite Wilco song made by an emo group, and Greyhound is fantastic. Saw them in concert live, and they do amazing as well. Dark Times, Vince Staples, fantastic. We talked about it.
Yes.
Those songs are so incredibly catchy. It's amazing. Caroline Polachek, Desire I Want to Turn Into You, the deluxe Ever Asking edition. I couldn't put this on my list since it's an album that came out last year, but all of the bonus songs on here and the remixes are incredible. Butterfly Net with Wise Blood is insane. Coma is ridiculous. Best pop album this decade so far. I will stand on that. The Bon Iver EP was really great. It's an EP, that's why it's not on here, but I really enjoyed it. We talked about Peggy. Sure, I'll give an honorable mention to him. This is like my least favorite album of his. Come Shoot Me, but that's how it went. And then Soccer Mommy, Evergreen. It's great. I
Fantastic.
couldn't justify putting it above anything else because there isn't like enough of an oomph to like really push it over the edge. But like personally, for me, it's a comfort project. It sounds great.
Yeah.
I think that covers most of it. I could keep going, but I'll stop there.
Okay.
I'll list the rest of the 96.
Okay. Vultures too.
Right now. I have two that I want to shout out and two that I want to explain why they weren't on my list. So I want to shout out West Side Gun, Still Praying. It's weird that like West Side Gun, DJ drama, and like wrestling themed,
Too much.
which I think is the coolest thing in the world, is like not on my list. I just agree with the sentiment that the Griselda formula has gotten kind of stale. It still sounds great,
Hit
but
a wall.
it's not moving, unfortunately. But it's still awesome. And then Smino, his new Maybe in Nirvana album, it came out like last week, and I think if I had more time with it, it would be on my list.
Oh, sure.
But it's very catchy so far, and I like it a lot. But Smile did not make my list, unfortunately. It did not hit me the same at all that Nurture has. It's still, I think it's a good album, but like I think Nurture is just far and away like superior to it in every
Well,
way.
of course, yeah.
But Smile just has not clicked for me yet. As well as Imaginal Disc. People are saying that this is like the best album ever made. And this is the first time I'm like in the camp of like 0.01 where it's like, no.
I think it is kind of overrated, but it's really good.
I think Mercurial World like mogs this thing so hard.
Oh, snap.
Maybe I just changed in like preference, but I think her singing doesn't do it for me anymore. It's a lot more like, I don't know.
I
It's
just
like
love
she
Carly
uses,
Jepsen, so
yes, she uses a lot higher pitches on this album, I feel, and that doesn't do it for me like the same way it did on Mercurial World. So that's my scolding hot take is that Imaginal Disc is
wow. I have no idea what your number one is then.
criminally overrated. So
I don't know what his number one is either.
This is
I don't know what my
like-
number one
This
is.
is a turn. Me neither.
what's an album that came out this year?
I just let's pull up a wheel.
Did In Rainbows come out this year?
I think so.
I will put that at number 1 if it did.
Me too.
Oh, sweet. Well, that saves me the trouble. All right. My
ones.
number one. Yes. I think I would be lying to myself, my city, and my country if I did not list this as my number one.
In the church around the corners, having service on the lawn, and drawing pictures on the pavement with pastel sidewalk chalk.
This one definitely stands out among all of the other ones that I've picked, in that it is not folk or singer-songwriter or whatever, my mainstays. I guess neither is Kendrick, but that's an exception,
Kendrick's
I guess.
an exception for you.
He's kind of like a singer-songwriter in a lot of ways.
He do be songwriting.
And singing. He does be singing bars.
That's true.
But yeah, Aaron West, we did a video on this not too long ago, maybe about a month ago. But I've been listening to it for a very, very long time. Not that long, August. So I guess a pretty long time in the grand scheme of things. And it has just not left my rotation. And I don't really know what it is about it, because, I mean, on paper, the lyrics are great, but I'm not reading a book that I've read 100,000 times. You know, I already know those words. So why do I keep listening to it? And I don't really know the answer to it. It's just a very, very good emo.
Heartland Rock.
Yeah, Heartland Rock. Reminds me a lot of Bruce Springsteen, actually, in a lot of ways. I think Aaron West would do great on a podcast with Barack Obama.
The Barack Best.
Yeah, but yeah, I know that, like, I usually don't really agree with the critics, the music critics. I think they're all hacks. Why do they get to write for Rolling Stone? Why can't I write for Rolling Stone? I've applied 20 times and they keep turning me down. So I just kind of have this spite thing against all critics, but I do agree with them. I don't think that it's the second best album of the decade or anything, but it's up there. It's a top 5 for me, at least. And it just keeps growing on me. It is one of those where it's like, I don't know why. I don't like emo music. And I've tried other emo music since listening to Aaron West, and it's just not clicking the same way. So I did see some comments saying that I should listen to the other ones that Aaron West is a character. Whatever, the dude that made Aaron West. Listen to the other Aaron West albums. So I will do that, and I will report back on the Boy Time podcast, which is my favorite podcast that I have made.
Sponsored.
Hashtag ad.
Technically sponsored.
Hashtag ad for my own podcast. Our podcast.
Thank you.
That's all I have to say about Aaron West. It's a very good album. You should check it out if you haven't. It's not a folk album, but it might as well be.
Great. My album of the year in the year of 2024, in our Lord year 2024. I think that's how you say that correctly. surprise of nobody probably.
Oh.
Yeah, I've gone through the entire Phil discography this year, in, I don't want to say record pace, but it was pretty quick, like 6 or 7 months. We did a couple on the channel, but I went through all 25, 26 of them or whatever, and went through an entire range of terrible feelings to great, amazing, magical feelings and everything in between, during a year that's been pretty awful. So he really just hit me this year with a whole bunch of great stuff. But then we cap it all out with him coming back for his first record in 4 years. And it's not just a regular record, it is a 26 songs, hour and a half record, which is very stark compared to what he's been doing usually. I think this is his longest record to date. He's gone through a lot of very traumatic events, with his wife passing away in 2016. Then we had Crow Looked at Me. We had we had Lost Wisdom, which is about his second divorce, or first divorce technically. But like all of these horrible things are happening to him. And then we get this beautiful, amazing, perfect retrospective with microphones in 2020. And then it's kind of silent for 4 years. And then we come back on the scene, and it feels like old him and new him combined. Like this could be a Glow Part 2 kind of spiritual successor, not only in its length and everything, but just the way it sounds. All the mysticism of rain and wind and fog and fire and earth and space and all of these amazing mystical big questions and metaphors that he's been using on his older work are back, but they're mixed with this incredible grounding wisdom and reality that he is currently in now. And it makes for, like, if you're a super fan of him, it is such a earned moment to get to this point again, for him to feel like old him mixed with, all these new experiences kind of enlightening his path forward. We're back on the slacker rock. We're back with a whole bunch of distortion and noisiness. The opener, Night Palace, is just jaw dropping. It has this kind of staticky electric droniness to it that is just mesmerizing. Huge Fire is an amazing indie rock song. We have Swallowed Alive, which is a like grindcore heavy metal track that goes right into a love song about his daughter in a very cute folksy way on the next track. All these things just kind of bashing next to each other. With 26 songs, he kind of breaks it up into little chapters, little segments. These were all started as little notebook poems that he kind of finished into actual songs. I have to shout out I Spoke with a Fish. That is one of the best songs I've ever heard, and it's one of the weirdest songs I've ever heard. Starts with him conversing with an auto-tuned fish with 808 drums, and then goes into the most beautiful midsection, like ambient piece you've ever heard in your life, and finishes with a big Lebowski sample. It's amazing. He also touches a lot on like colonization and his place within the real world on this, which he has not really brought up before. There's this kind of like impermanence and that kind of theme across this whole record of things constantly changing, and he's just kind of a blip in the grand scheme of things, but just realizing the real grounding nature of like, I'm living on stolen land in a country that has been built on terror and destruction, and I need to like really realize that and come to terms with it. I think that especially comes with him like owning a house and owning land now. He like felt really weird having that kind of thing. I think November Rain was beautiful because he's just like talking about how he lives in like a vacation place. So all these rich people just like dump their money on huge houses and then don't live there except for like 4 months of the year, but they leave their lights on. So he just kind of like trespasses and like walks around because he actually lives in this land. But the ending of the record is incredible as well. Like Stone Woman through I Need New Eyes is one of the most touching, amazing things I've heard this year. It's a very nocturnal sound, but Demolition was one where I was really, really like wondering what he's going to do with a 12-minute piece. And it's not really even a song. It's a 12-minute spoken word poetry piece about his time at a meditation retreat and all the new thoughts that kind of grow in about like colonization and all these different like things about impermanence and things, and it's incredibly powerful. And then you just get the amazing cathartic release of I Need New Eyes at the end, and it just breaks me every single time. It is such an accomplishment, 25 years into your career, to do one of the best things you've done with this much of a creative palette when it comes to guitars and all of these different compositions and things. It is truly one of the best things he's done, and it is the biggest reward for getting through this year for me, because my God, was it tough, and my God, was his records like the only thing that were like really propelling me musically through this year. And this thing just hits all of the right notes. It's perfect just playing it all the way through, but like all these songs you can pick out, place in little playlists everywhere, and it sounds completely natural to do it that way as well. So incredible album. amazing, fantastic. That's my album of the year.
My number 1 is GNX by Kendrick Lamar.
I got the money and the power, both gyrating. I feel good, get the fuck out my face. Look good, but she don't got no ties. I walk in, walk out with the size. Man, don't let me know what the price. What the fuck? I got hits, I got bucks, I got new paper cuts, I got friends, I got foes, but they all sitting ducks. Hit his turf and get cracking, double back like a deluxe.
I think it's like the most like general consensus, maybe mainstream consensus number 1, but I don't care because the hive mind is right in this instance. Ever since, like, honestly, since like Family Ties, like he has had this energy to him that I am just hypnotized by. Mr. Morale was a little bit of a sidestep, but I will defend that album until my dying breath. It is so good. But this one is just a lot more listenable, a lot more digestible. Especially during this year, which is a career year for probably the greatest artist of the generation. After practically murdering a man in front of everybody, this is kind of like his victory lap in a way.
His third victory lap.
Yes. His kind of like after the dust settles victory lap.
Yeah.
And I love how he kind of talked about in Mr. Morale, how he kind of had this like ego death, this like savior complex being brought down. It's still there a little bit, but he's definitely allowing himself to have more fun. So many of his like inflections and pronunciations on this album are so like weird, but he makes them sound like it fits right in. I love the West Coast influence. I love the West Coast features. I love the whole vibe of it. I think Whacked Out Murals is probably up there with Wesley's Theory for best opener of an album, and United in Grief as well. I'm not trying to like co-sign the Mr. Morale into this one, but it's kind of like the same era of Kendrick that I view it as. But I think Whacked Out Murals is a phenomenal opener. Squabble Up, obviously, the teaser that was in Not Like Us. He dropped it a lot sooner than people thought because he never releases music that he teases. So
never.
So it was great to see that in here as well, and how he like on the chorus he just like his voice is so funny, but it's awesome. Luther, obviously great. This is a feature, great bop. Love that one. I agree with Babby that Hey Now is so good. Love the Dodie feature. It's just like so. Like I don't even know how to describe the vibe of it. Like it's obviously it's West Coast influenced, but he puts his own.
Goofy.
Yeah, he puts his own little thing in it, and it's awesome. Reincarnated obviously is great. It honestly took me a little bit to like appreciate it sonically more than I do like lyrically. Like I was like, that's a great lyrical song, but I don't see myself going back to it. But it's definitely grown on me, like listening wise as well. TV Off, obviously great song, kind of like a Not Like Us adjacent beat to it.
Same
Like
sample.
B-side.
Yeah. So that one is great. Dodger Blue, I also love. I just love the rest of it. Honestly, it's all just amazing. The GNX title track is probably going to be one of my favorites. The first time I heard it, I was like, this beat does not make any sense at all. But like once they get going, it's like, wow, this is incredible. The only thing I think I can hold against it is not hold against it, but something I would have liked is like, there's no Baby Keem. Where are you, my sweet prince?
He sucked his soul so he could make something as goofy as this.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it really just comes down to I love how he's allowed himself to be more goofy, not view himself in that savior complex that he was on Damn and like T-Pab to an extent. You can tell he's having fun, and that's awesome. I don't really know where he's gonna go after this sonically. But this is definitely a premonition of like you really don't know what to expect, because it's definitely been a bit of a curveball of how he's taken his sound. But I just love the whole West Coast vibe to it. I think it's really, really good. Obviously not as lyrically dense as some of his other albums, but that's not really the point here. So
yeah.
And he says that. So yeah, that's my number one. I think it will probably be up there for me in Kendrick albums. It's hard to rank them because it's Kendrick, but
Keeps growing.
it's
on
definitely
me.
it's no slouch whatsoever. I think it holds up to everything else that he's done so far. So
Yeah, I think so. I think when it comes to Kendrick, there's just one that I think is the best, and the rest of them are all equally great.
Yeah.
So
And I feel like it's just I need to give him his flowers because
Not enough
just
people.
the
do
yeah,
year.
not enough people are talking about him. Like I
Yes.
said earlier.
Yes.
He
He's a little
deserves
underground,
He deserves
little
it
underground
all
LA
this week.
guy.
Yeah.
And just like amazing year for LA and rap.
Mhm.
Like Dark Times, Chromacopia, this one, some other ones I didn't even mention, but like LA rap this year was just
Family
like
matters.
yeah. Probably the best song this year, honestly.
I think so. I love
Great.
Drake.
Well, that was
Yes.
it. That was our. I say that 2 hours later. That was it. That was our top 10 of 2024. What a year! This was the best music year in a long time. I know people
I
hype
think
up
so.
2016, but I think this year might be better than 2016.
2022.
2022 was also great. That was like coming out of pandemic. Everybody was just like throwing things everywhere. But yeah,
And
great
y'all
year
are
for
sleeping on
music.
1976.
That's true. That was a banger year.
Been meaning to get around to it.
We'll do a deep dive on music from that year. That'd be hilarious.
I
to do a
don't, I
reaction
don't know
video.
what else. I don't know what came out. I just threw out a year.
But post your list in the comments so we can make fun of you or agree with you, or fight amongst each other. Do something.
Post your address as well.
Yeah, the more you engage with
Oh.
each other down below, the more YouTube recommends our videos, which makes us more money. We don't make any money.
We are making money.
We've
on
we've
this.
been monetized for 2 years and we still haven't made enough to like cash out the monetization. So, yeah, we're good. Go buy your favorite albums physically. Don't just stream them. Buy it. Go to the concert.
and buy barrels of gas.
Yes.
Prices are low right
Buy
now,
barrels
so
of
you're
gas,
gonna want to get
ammunition,
in on it right now.
cans of beans,
Rice.
crypto. Boy time coin. It's hot. It's going now.
Buying.
I don't know if we should put that.
I have to edit that one out.
I'm not saying that you go in.
Anyways, we're back.
Oh.
Nothing happened. Yeah,
My
that was
apologies.
that was our year. We will see you next week for the top 5 albums we reacted to. Babjab will be not here because he wasn't here for 5 albums that we reacted to.
That's true.
But hopefully he'll be here next year more, and we'll be doing some cool stuff. So stay tuned. Subscribe if you haven't. I need it to fulfill my ego. I also have my entire list of album of the year stuff in the comments if you want to view the whole list for whatever reason. So,
I don't.
me neither. I spent too much time looking at it. But yeah. Bye.